So, I want to go over my creation mod selection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what my preferences are in terms of mods, as well as my load order, and why I have what I have. Keep in mind, I am playing on Xbox, so there's going to be a lot more options available on PC. But that being said, there's a lot on here. The best way I can describe load order, and you'll see this as I go through it, I'm not a genius, but before I figured out this load order, I was probably getting about, I don't know, maybe like 2 to 5 hours of playtime in before the game would crash. Sometimes I would have crashes more often than others. And then I figured out a load order that's been working pretty well. Since I've adopted this load order, I have not had any crashes, which is pretty cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my load order for what's going to be my Shattered Space character playthrough. So the girl that you've seen the video on, my recent character that I made, Aurora, who's got the Serpent's Embrace and all that kind of stuff. So let's pop up into load order here. Now, the way that I want you to kind of think about this load order is think about the base game and then how the different layers build on top of each other as they load. So the first things that are going to be on here, and you can see, are like patches and bug fixes. So you can see here you've got the unofficial patch, and then you've got the community patch. So these right here, these are just bug fixes and patches. These are typically going to go very, very first in your load order. This is going to be your patches, things like that. The next thing that gets into it is things that are a lot more environmental. So environmental is going to be things like, when you load the game, you load a planet. Well, what loads on the planet? Well, you're going to have this here is denser vegetation. So this just makes it so there's a lot more like forest. There's a lot more scannable flora and fauna, which kind of makes makes the places where plants can grow a lot more interesting to run around in. I like having it, totally optional, just kind of an immersive thing. But since that's one of the first things that's going to pop up on a planet is what's on the planet, you want to have that vegetation there. Concept tequila. So this kind of brings a different style of Aquila vibe to the city of Aquila. But again, when you land on a planet, it's one of the first things that's going to populate is that load order. Darker Nights, again, you go somewhere, one of the first things is going to be the visual. This probably doesn't matter as much, but I'd probably put it close to the top. Climate change, so weather. And Darker Nights, I just really like this because I think it's better to have darker nights when you're out exploring the different planets and moons. So I really like Darker Nights. Climate change. This is really cool because essentially what it does is it makes it so that some places where the weather doesn't change very much actually do change. So basically you can see on the right there different types of changes. So forests are going to have overcast. There's going to be places with heavy rains. Different places. It's basically just going to give you more weather options and different weather options, which I really like. Because sometimes you're walking around near Aquila, or not Aquila, but you're walking around New Atlantis, and hey, it's always nice here. All right, cool. Well, what if it's rainy? Okay, cool. Well, now it can rain. So it's kind of cool just having different types of weather. Next one here is dynamic weather. So this basically just speeds up the weather cycle. I like these two because, again, you're getting more variety of weather and the weather changes more frequently. It just kind of makes it fun to switch up the game. Darker universe. So what this does is this adds a bunch of different spacer bases throughout the galaxy, procedurally places them. So nothing too crazy, but again, when you're talking about loading into a game, it's one of the first things is going to be, hey, you get to a star system. Well, we have to populate what's on those moons. Cool. This is going to be what populates on the moons. Improve leveling. So I really like this. I think it improves leveling. Basically, so that way there's the systems that you go to, no matter what. Early on in the game, it seems like the systems there, you're starting out at low-level systems and they get very boring. What this does is it makes it so that there's always challenging enemies everywhere you go. You know, if you're a level 5, you're going to run into people who are a little bit higher, and so on and so forth. As you can see, there is a max level on there eventually, but basically this just makes it so that as you level up, the enemies level up with you to keep things challenging. I really like that one. Faction expansion, so this just expands on the Trackers Alliance. Honestly, I haven't really got into it. We'll see about it. Massacre, Crate's cool. Basically just adds a bunch of bloody visuals and stuff. I'm going to skip past these because they're not part of it. But as you can see, these are things that are going to populate environmentally. Next, you're going to see these are some like kind of gameplay-esque things. So changing the bounty numbers. You could call this gameplay / bug fixes. Missing weapon tiers. The chronograph watch. Next, what we're getting into is items. So once you get past your environmental options, you're getting into actual items that you add in. So this is the module recycler. It's really cool. You can take all the different things that you get, legendary status effects on weapons and whatnot, and then you can reuse them and assign them to different weapons and so forth. The Starborn suit, obviously there's that one. This here is a particle beam weapon, which is kind of cool. This adds a bunch of weapons, which is cool. Again, adding weapons to the game. So these here are like all your individual weapons. I didn't really feel like adding all of these to the to this playthrough, so that's why they're not activated. But you can see how next in the load order is all of the weapons that are getting added in. All right, so a bunch of them, pretty straightforward. You're getting a bunch of different items. As we continue into items, you can see you've got Boba Fett armor, so now you've got clothing packs. There you go, clothing packs. It's pretty straightforward. So all the weapons, again, these are standalone items, not retextures. This is cool. It's got a whole bunch of different types of outfits all in one. This Zone 79 guy is pretty good. I personally prefer the VBB curvy. I just think it makes the women look better. I like sexy women. I don't know what to tell you. Don't hate. Scarf. Yeah. Cool. Next, we're getting into some more kind of gameplay items. So, this here is going to be gameplay related functions of the game. So we've got items, now we've got the way they function. So this is going to be adjusting, making the terramorphs more dangerous. This adds a location. Honestly, this should probably be higher up, but I haven't had any issues with it. Sneak system, so this adjusts the sneak system. So again, gameplay related. Better NPCs. This is pretty cool. If I remember correctly, so this one makes the people in game work better. They don't look at you. They stand in circles. They watch in groups. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. They don't say hi to you. They make it a little bit more normal. Improve followers. So this just helps a little bit with the way that followers work with you. It's got its listed fixes. I'm going to try the double romance. Increase shipping counters. So again, more shipping counters. I think that one of the great things about Starfield is the ship combat. So having more of those opportunities, always a good thing. This one, realistic injuries. I tried using it, but I found that I was getting too many injuries. Got kind of boring. Damage scaling. So this allows primarily melee weapons and like grenades to scale with you, so that way they actually are useful later on in the game. So again, another gameplay. Terramorphs and Starborn give more experience. Again, gameplay related. Stealth takedowns. I'm not using this, but you can basically use it as like a stealth knockdown takedown. This one I haven't really had working all that well, but it could be just because of all the other stuff. But again, gameplay related. Weightless meds, gameplay related. Coffee Fiend, so this adds a new skill, which is kind of cool. It makes it so that as you drink coffee, you get benefits, and I am a coffee fiend. Immersive looting, so this allows you to like loot everything or strip all the items worn. One thing that annoyed me was seeing people wearing all this gear and not being able to take it, so that fixes that. Better auto hide, a couple gameplay tweaks, so this fixes, speeds up the waiting menu, yeah, stuff like that. So just a couple quality of life items, but again, gameplay related. NPCs drop all their armor, so this way you can get all the armor that they're wearing. Again, gameplay related. More skills, gameplay related. Better loot, gameplay related. More perks, gameplay related. I'm going to skip past most of these just so it's not too long. 10 times vendor credits, that's huge. Just so you can actually make money and not be running around to every single vendor in the game trying to offload your loot. More interesting recruits. Vasco player names, that is all fun. This switches all the dancers to female. This makes it so that you can view your companions, what they're wearing versus what you're wearing. And I'm getting past near the end of these. So again, gameplay related, New Atlantis. This would probably actually be lower down because it's a visual, but I'm not going to mess with it. Yeah, again, a visual thing, but I'm not going to mess with it. Cool. Next, we get into NPCs. So these are like standalone companions and standalone NPCs. Once you get past gameplay, then you have NPCs. Again, kind of layering the cake. So, mech enemies, the pilot assist bot, ATST enemies, a companion. So again, these are NPCs that you're adding into the game. Anyone that's an NPC is going to come in. And then as we get later on, these last few things that we get into, these are all visual, like, retextures. Retextures are typically going to be the last thing in your load order because, again, you have the base game that loads, then you have bug fixes, then you have how does the galaxy work, then you get into locations and how the locations function, then you get into adding items into the locations, then you add in the functionality of those items, then you get into NPCs that are there, and now finally the last thing the game is loading is the actual visual textures at the end. So, there's a few different ones. So, replaces the Astrotech mini bots. I actually love this one. The Purge Trooper is really cool. It just replaces the Mantis. Again, the texture of the Mantis looks really cool. And these ones do have meshes. Arms of Mandalore, these ones I didn't have much luck with. I didn't really like them. Again, they're just retextures of the game. But again, you're just looking retextures. Enhanced blood textures is great. Star Wars aliens, Star Wars droids, the patch. Fun if you're doing a Star Wars playthrough. Better crowd citizens. So this here is a great visual help. Basically what it does is that it replaces all of the ugly NPC faces with regular NPC high-res textures. So that way they actually look like the good NPCs and they don't look like the really ugly alien NPCs. NPCs. So I definitely recommend Better Crowd Citizens. Thick civilians, it makes some of the civilian clothing thick, which is fun. Andreja Replacer, so it just makes her look a little bit better. Sarah Replacer makes it look a little bit better. The ND5 Vasco, I love this one. It's a lot of fun. Star Wars Spacer Overhaul. So this, again, retexture. I'm going to do a Varun Replacer here. This one's really good. At least I like it. I think it makes the Varun suits look a little bit more slim and cooler looking. Again, a retexture. Retextures. Yeah, retextures. So you can see, basically you get down here and then these are just things I'm not really using. And then the final two thing is filter removal and a flashlight mod. So as you can see, that's basically the load order that I'm going in. Again, you start out with the very top level. I'll pop back up here. You have your patches. Follow that. You're going to have what loads next. So you're going to have the environment. So locations, weather, things like that actually affect the locations. After that, you get into basically like gameplay items. Then you get into your actual items you're adding to the game. So this would be like weapons and clothing that are being added in as standalone items. Once you get through these standalone items that you're adding in, like weapons and so forth, you get into gameplay stuff. So things that affect your gameplay, quality of life. After you get through gameplay, you get into your NPCs, your characters you're adding in. And then lastly is when you get into your textures and your retextures and your color filters. So, I hope that helps. That's my mod load order, and I hope that you have a lot of fun as you venture into Starfield. Catch you later.